In this video, I'm going to break down this trade on GBPUSD. I have a free Forex trading course that you can sign up to now. It's totally free. It's 13 videos showing you why you're not winning and how you can turn your results around. So it's pretty simple. If you want to do that, head over to the link in the description at the end of this video and sign up there. Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. I hope you're doing well. In today's video, I just wanted to do a trade breakdown of a trade that I took recently on GBPUSD. Now I took this on Monday. It was a 7.6R trade and it worked out very, very nicely. It was a low time frame trade using the 1 minute time frame to follow the order flow from a point of demand into a point of supply. Very simple stuff. Now over here on the chart, you can see the outcome of the trade that I took. This was, as you can see, purely a 1 minute time frame trade, but the original idea for this trade formulated much higher up than this on the 4-hour time frame. So what I'm going to do is start over there and I'll break it down from point A to point B. So starting on the 4-hour time frame, you'll remember on Monday, if you watched the video, I called for shorts on GU from around this zone here. So I was looking for price to come into the supply and then start to sell off. Now, initially I took a short. This was a break-even trade. I actually brought on the way into it as well. But when we got there, after the break-even happened on my one position, I realized maybe this could move a little bit further into the zone. So what I did was go down to the low time frames, and what I'm going to do is just head over to the start of this supply area. And this is where the opportunities came about. Now, initially I'd marked on this 30-minute zone as I noticed it was efficient, and then the inefficiency came out of this. So this is where I was looking for my short positions. Now, going down to the lower time frames like the 5-minute, however, showed me that we did indeed have this openly imbalanced supply just here. So these refined supply zones can be very useful. The reason I went with this one is because if we look back here, we've essentially had this whole range retested. Then we have this clear open large imbalance. So I decided, okay, if price is going to react from anywhere, it's likely going to be this point. Now this finishes out at 720. So you can see 1.22720. And this is where the real premise of the trade came around, because when some price action formed on the lower time frame, I actually managed to turn this trade into a buy to take it into 1.22720. So now skipping back to where we were, this is what we can see on the chart. We can see that we're pushing, but we haven't quite achieved that refined 5-minute imbalance supply. Until we hit that, I will not be happy to sell. So until we get to that point, we could consider looking for buys. This is then where I went to the low time frames and I priced out the price action just like this. Now we can see clearly at this point, the market is uptrending. We can see we have these higher highs and higher lows consistently coming out. So we have a bit of a range here, but you can see consistently higher highs and higher lows pulling towards this area. If we then break down the current trend, we will see that we've had this demand zone retest. And from there, we had efficient bullish order flow. So this is actually where the trade was formulated. Now, if we go down to the 1 minute time frame, we can have a look at this order flow from a very low time frame perspective. So first of all, the demand zone retest kicked in around this point here. We had a tap into demand. We had a push up. This broke structure one time here. After that break of structure, we came down, we formed a higher low. Then we pushed up and we had another break of structure here. Then we had efficiency running all the way through to this point here. So if we break down the efficiency, we have demand zone number 1. That one is efficient. From there, we have this demand zone, which has been retested. Then we have this demand zone here after the new higher high. That one has also been retested. Once again here, demand zone retested. And then if we even look at this price action here, we have this demand zone retested. Leading up to this point, we can see that all of the price action from this point upwards is efficient and has been filled. Now the entry actually came in off this demand zone. So this is where I entered the trade, and I'll break that down in a moment. Now, why would I enter against a supply? You might be thinking, well, we've seen here higher highs and higher lows, shifting into lower lows, and now we've had this major breakdown, break of structure. Now we're pulling back into this supply zone. Now I did keep this in mind, and that is why I didn't buy until this supply failed. So we can actually see if we grab this tool and pull it across, we had the initial reaction. This is where I was cautious that supply may hold. And then when we had this break above, that is when I then placed on my buy limit. So the buy limit came in on this point here, the stop loss was below, and the target was into our imbalanced supply. The trade looked a little something like this, and it was a 7.6R position. So my entry was just above to account for spreads, hence why I didn't manage to get the full 8R out of it. And then the stop loss was just below. So I'm thinking the entry would have been something a little bit like this. Just a little bit less because it was a 7.60, not a 7.74. But this is the general idea for the position I took. And basically what I was looking for here was, well, the order flow is bullish. The supply has now failed. We've came in and formed relative equal highs as well at these two levels. So we could easily now catch a buy from this imbalanced demand to follow the sufficient price action up and take this towards the target. So the key factor in this trade was that supply fail. Without this, I wouldn't have entered. This is why I didn't buy here, 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 or here. I only brought in here after we'd had that supply zone fail and form that relative equal high liquidity, because it showed me that these sellers were not so strong, and my original plan, my original bias to continue this bullish trend up towards this imbalanced supply was probably going to come true. So after I got tapped in, the market did make a push down, a second tap to the entry of the trade, but then it rallied very, very quickly all the way up towards the target. Now, this is the beauty of the entry point that I managed to get. The reason that this is so good is simply because we are at the point now where supply is failing. We're at the point where we're forming liquidity and we are opening and pushing into that imbalance. So as soon as we get this supply fail, our entry will pretty much breeze us all the way to target very quickly. Now you'll see after the tap, we did have a fast sell-off. I think the market then went and pushed even higher, but that was no big deal. We managed to lock in our profits and run that all the way to where we wanted it to go. So that was the trade that I took on GBPUSD. Super simple order flow following setup. Now this, to some people, may look too simple, but that's just how it is. Trading doesn't have to be complicated. If you can find a point in the market where it's probably going to start breaking to the upside or downside, and then you can trade that low time frame 1 minute order flow into or out of that area, you have a very good system for catching consistent and very large trades as well. Now, the one thing I will note about these trades, I've took quite a lot, so they don't really worry me too much, but you will be on edge when you're in these positions when you are first learning them. So it's heavily advised if you're going to try and trade this style, back test first. If you were in a trade like this, you have 4 pips and you could potentially lose hundreds of dollars or thousands of dollars over these 4.6 pips. You're going to run into issues where you start panic selling on the second pushes down. So it's not all as easy as it looks in terms of the psychology side, but technical wise, it can be very simple to actually catch these positions. So that was Monday's position, a 7.6R win on GBPUSD. Fortunately, we managed to choose the right take profit using that imbalanced 5-minute supply, because as soon as it got tapped, it then ran back down. I mean, eventually it would have gone and hit it anyway, would have continued higher, but at the time we obviously didn't know that. So I hope you've taken some value from this video. I hope it's been beneficial, and I hope you've learned a thing or two about low time frame order flow trading. I'm going to drop the trade up in my Discord now, and I'm going to show the actual live entry as well, because you know what the haters are like. So here is the trade in my Discord group. You can see here I sent it out, the idea of buying from this demand to take up towards the supply. Here's the entry triggered into the trade. Here is the live trade running. And then as we can see, we ran it all the way up to the take profit. And here is the live trade playing out in real time. I ended up closing at this level because I accidentally sent my take profit further than what I'd sent to my members and further to my plan, but I still locked it up there at 723. That is the live trade in action. And all in all, I just want to say thank you for watching. Hope you've taken some value from this. Hope you've had a great profitable week in the market, and I will see you next week.